Bryan Callen, you're listening to Man Thoughts, the #1 podcast on the planet. Just won #1 podcast on the planet.
No, it's not.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
There's no such.
Hey, dude, I'm doing my intro. Okay.
I'm sorry, man, but there's no.
Yeah, but don't interrupt. I'm doing my intro. I have a whole thing.
Who's the governing entity over the podcast of the planet?
There's a committee of top podcasters.
Oh, who's on it?
They cast their vote.
I'm interrupting your intro.
Steven Spielberg and a number of other people who are doing this stuff. Now, you guys, by the way, I will be at, I think we're going to post this. I'll be at Gotham Comedy Club November 16th and 17th in New York City. Come see me. And check me out on Facebook or tweet me at Bryan Callen, BryanCallen. Is that what I'm supposed to do, Will? All this shit?
Yeah, you should say that you're on Twitter at Bryan Callen, that you're on, you can say that you're on Instagram, even though you only have one picture at Bryan Callen. You should definitely say that this podcast is just sort of something that you use to work out so that you can actually get to work on your real podcast, the one that you share with myself, Will Sasso, otherwise known as at Will Sasso on Twitter, and at Chris D'Elia. I hate that we have to call ourselves that. And the name of that podcast is 10-Minute Podcast.
That's true.
It ranks very, very well on iTunes. It's the funny version of this, and it's only 10 minutes long.
I don't need you to say. I don't need you to be
rude.
rude.
You have fans, and I'm just trying to expand.
Yeah, well,
thing.
don't diss my podcast, Man Thoughts, before you've even fucking done it. Okay.
All right, I've heard it though.
Yeah, well, no, but it's really it was rated the #1 podcast on the planet.
And you can find us on Twitter at 10minpod.
Hey, what the fuck? This is not an advertisement for 10-Minute Podcast.
TENMINPOD.
Hey, man, this is the Man Thoughts.
Facebook/10minpod.
What the flip? You have a mustache. Speaking of Man
Thoughts. I do
have
a mustache.
You've grown a mustache recently, and I wondered. Mustaches are you're a creepy guy anyway, but mustaches are generally reserved for pedophiles and shitheads.
And 1920 strongmen in my case.
Well, 1920 strongmen. I've noticed a lot of military guys, shadowy military guys, and cops who wear mirrored sunglasses always have mustaches.
Well, I think something that all of those people share is a what the fuck are you going to do about it attitude. And that's something. I may not be a cop or a pedophile or a 1920 strongman, even though I could, wrestle an alligator or lift 250 pounds over my head.
Okay, well, you're a big guy.
Bulbous dumbbells, as you've seen.
You are built like a strongman. You're a big kid.
Yep. I have a bear heart.
All right. Well,
my name is Will Bearheart Sasso.
I've never heard anyone call you that, and you don't have a bear heart.
Yeah, I do have a bear heart.
Like, what do you mean by bear heart?
Let's put it this way:
the heart of a bear, as in you're incredibly tenacious.
Have you ever seen? Metaphorically and literally.
Literally, you have a bear heart?
I do have a bear's heart.
That is a complete lie.
Will, born with a bear heart, Sasso.
No, I've never heard you say that. And how do you know?
Have you ever seen a bear run up a mountain?
Not really.
Okay, well, let me explain something to you. I come from Canada where I see bears run up mountains, and I've studied them. They have shorter front legs than they do hind legs.
Okay.
So they go tearing. They're built to run up a mountain.
All right.
Literally.
Yeah.
And metaphorically speaking, I'm built to run up a mountain. I conquer mountains in my life.
Okay, dude. This is not a podcast for you to fucking brag. What mountains have you conquered?
Comedy Mountain.
All right, dude. I've done my own share of comedy.
Being a sweetheart of a dude mountain.
All right. Well, that's not really a...
Love mountain.
What do you mean a love mountain? You a love maker?
I'm a love creator, yeah.
Well, how do you make love? Are you an aggressive love maker? Do you make love like a bear? Do you just rut over a girl for about 5 seconds?
No.
Hibernate?
No. I'm the love raven because I assume different forms. I'm every man.
If you see a beehive, do you just attack it?
What are you trying to say?
Brave the stings and just eat all the honey?
No.
You fucking honey mouth?
No, I'm not a honey mouth honey bear.
Honey mouth honey bear?
No.
But that's what you are, isn't it?
No.
Isn't that what you are? You honey bear?
No. Don't mistake my bear heart for a bear snout. I'm not Will Bear Snout Sasso.
That's what you are. You bear snout. You bear snout with a stupid mustache.
Mustache. No, I'm not a bear snout.
You look like
you're Bryan Shitty Badger Tail Callen.
Don't call me a badger tail. The fuck?
Yeah, you got a badger tail dragging in the mud and shit. Drags everywhere with you. You go to sleep at night and curl up, and it tickles your nose. So you smell shit all night. You breathe shit while you sleep. While you dream.
Bro,
how are you supposed?
Badger tail. What are you fucking even talking about?
I'm talking metaphorically.
Yeah, but that's obnoxious. A badger tail. I don't have a goddamn badger tail.
I don't even know what a badger tail looks like.
It's wide and flat and long.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're a badger tail. You're
in fact, a badger doesn't have a tail. It has a very short tail.
Whatever it is, it's slapping down. It's slapping down that shit like a paver's trowel.
Do you have a favorite animal?
Bear.
All right. Okay.
Now, is this how your podcast goes? I thought this is a long form. See, on our podcast, on the 10-minute podcast with you, me, and Chris, we goof around, we have a good time, and we'd be just about out of time now.
Yeah, I know, dude. And that's why.
But on this one, you have a long form thing.
Yeah, well, I do. I like to get to the heart of who somebody is.
So all you want to say is that I have a bear snout? That's who your friend Will is?
Well, I'm learning how to conducting an interview and getting what you want out of a person is an art form in itself. I do Joe Rogan's podcast, and we were analyzing my my sort of ability and inability to listen and to talk over people. And we had a molecular biologist on. And he was a he has that kind of a radical idea that HIV doesn't cause AIDS.
Yeah.
But I was kind of arguing, from a mainstream perspective, and the mistake I made was I used a lot of my own experiences. I started using my own experience. I had seen a lot of people die of AIDS in the 80s and all that, and that's not the way to ever conduct an interview, and it certainly isn't the way to confront a scientist who's dealing with objective reality. And so a lot of people kind of were like, hey dude, look, you that's fine, but you're an actor, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, and by the way, who gives a shit about your personal experiences? And they're right.
Yeah.
So it's a process. You realize that journalists are very good at taking themselves completely out of the equation.
Yeah. Well, this would require you to not be a narcissist for a little while and be interested in somebody else.
All right, dude. Well, I'm trying to do that, but when you're amazing the way I am.
The room that we're recording this in, hold on, there are 7 mirrors in here.
Well, I have mirrors on the ceiling as well. This
is an office.
I know, but I need to always be monitoring my physical appearance. It's very important.
Okay, well, you just proved my point.
No, but
that's
that's because I do kung fu katas in here, and
you've got something. You've got something that other people that would do interviews and stuff don't have. You're well read in a way that other people may find useless because you just sort of have all sorts of fucking.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, you just have.
I feel like you're giving me a backhanded insult now.
No. I'm just saying you know all sorts of dumb shit.
Okay.
And I think you just need to discover your love of people and
have
your
you ever,
fascination
have you
in
ever
other
taken
people.
An inventory on what you really know versus what you think you know? I was doing that the other day.
No. Why were you, really as a practice you were doing
because
that?
I feel like as you get older, and you have children and stuff, I'm just talking politically, for example. You should really know what and why you're voting for. Yeah. And that takes a lot of work. I mean, I do think you have to have a broad strokes philosophy, but let's say my point of view is, I don't think taxes should be high. Well, that's fine until you're actually running the government and you've got to deal with very real mathematical problems on the ground, right?
Yeah.
So it's what do you know to be true and what do you know not to be true?
So if we start with our load, right? We start fresh and move into the bits.
Hey, that's the 10-minute podcast. This is
Man Thoughts
podcast. Get that fucking thing off my podcast, man.
I was just playing it for the people.
No, man. No, I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna have to ask you, sir.
It's our theme song,
sir. I'm gonna have to ask you to turn that off, sir. I'm gonna have to ask you, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sir, I am really going to have to ask you to stop.
All right, I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I just hijacked your show because I got bored with what you were saying.
Well,
so I just played.
But you see, you don't think farther than what you can see.
I played an episode of 10-minute podcast on Stitcher. We're on Stitcher Smart Radio and iTunes.
If it's a soft, cuddly puppy, you'll pet it.
Subscribe free.
If it's a plate of food, you'll eat it.
Right.
And if it's a girl, I want to put my finger in it. That's how you are. That's literally the scope of your entire existence.
You're describing me as a hand to mushmouth plebeian.
Well, that's what you are. You're mushmouth. You mushmouth.
Not a mushmouth.
You mushmouth.
Man means. Man means.
All right, let's try to talk about something of substance.
Okay, let's actually try to have a real conversation. If you've and now again, not to hijack it, but if you've ever heard Bryan and I talk on the 10-minute podcast, this would have never happened.
Right.
We're going to actually have a real conversation about something.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about, you've been working in this business since you were 16 professionally?
Yeah, 15.
I mean,
years
like
old.
doing TV since you were literally 15.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to be working for 22 years. I'm 37.
And what's interesting about you is that nobody actually. I mean, people know, you're recognized and stuff, but the things that I've seen you do are you're probably with all bullshit aside the most versatile actor I've ever met. As far as being able to do comedy, you can do any accent on a high level. You can do drama. You play music. You sing. You can write music. What do you think is if you had a son and they wanted to get into acting, and you've been very successful and continue to be, but if somebody wanted to get into acting, what do you tell young people when they say they want to follow their dream
and get into acting?
Well, coming from somebody who's as talented as you are and has had so much success. However, you're also somebody who's acutely aware of how insanely sort of random this business is.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
I would tell them, if someone said to me, someone I cared about or a younger person said, I want to get into the business, I would say, run the other direction before I wind up and kick you in that direction. And I'll boot you down the street.
I got to tell you, I feel almost the same way.
Yeah, I know you do. Because this business is a fucking bitch. And you got to just keep on punching.
Why is it a bitch? Is it,
you know what I feel like? Okay, I'm going to share something. What's that?
Why is it a bitch mainly? It's just not linear. It's
not linear. Your accomplishments and the momentum that you are able to achieve over years does not come into play. You're there. It's literally wake up in the morning and try to be an actor again. Try to convince yourself that you're an entertainer again today.
Like a monkey.
Monkey. Try to convince yourself that you actually. I don't know. And the business is changing. Product is getting thin. There's a lot of stupid bullshit reality stuff out there that's competing for the airwaves, and they're making less movies because DVD is all fucked up. We don't know where the business model is going.
Because it's so saturated that you're getting people's attention. You got 10 seconds to grab somebody's attention until they're on to the next thing, right?
Or 10 minutes. Tune into the 10-minute podcast. It's only 10 minutes.
Well, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look what I did.
That was actually something you said.
Well, yeah,
you came up with the idea of 10-minute podcast. Right. Because you said people just don't have.
Yeah, I'm like, who has an hour and a half? Let's put it this way. I listened to the Adam Carolla show, his podcast. I've always loved Adam Carolla's stuff. I don't have enough time to listen to it all the time, and it's an hour and a half long. And I love him and I love what he has to say, but it's like, so if you want to break in, you better have some sort of gimmick, and doing it for 10 minutes gives us at least like someone can say, oh, we'll just do it for 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, look, the business is changing. It is saturated, but it's saturated because now people are making stuff on the internet and they're breaking in that way. And a friend of mine, my buddy Dylan, you know him. He's a really interesting dude, and we went to elementary school and high school together, and we're both like, we want to be in show business and all this stuff. And he lives here. He lives in Long Beach. He's married. He has 3 kids. Literally has a white picket fence. He's a big web designer. He's now doing a comic book series called the Bullhorn Gang, and he's working on that. And it's like, he's an interesting dude. And I remember when we were kids, he was literally 16 years old and he started this little production company outfit. You know what I mean? So he could like edit wedding videos or whatever, anything he could get his hand on. And we were sitting there editing some demo reel or something someday in our buddy's basement. And he goes, the next Scorsese, the next Spielberg, the next Coppola is out there and we'll never find him. And I go, why? And he goes, because of the studios and the way it works. You have to run out. If you don't have the money to go to film school, you're not going to be able to blah, 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 blah. Few years ago, he says to me, hey, do you remember that conversation we had when we were kids about Scorsese and this and that? And I go, yeah. He goes, now you'll never find him because of YouTube. And I go, what do you mean? That's kind of, that flies in the face of, right. And he said, no, because it's so saturated with shit that you'll never be able to find them. So now we just have people making product, and look, we all have tastes, but per my tastes, a lot of it isn't good.
You know what's interesting though is about what I actually find very interesting is there is some product that just breaks above the fray, and I'm thinking specifically of Breaking Bad.
Oh my God, what a great show.
It's such a great show, and when you actually watch it, you can see the amount of time Vince Gilligan and whoever else took to develop those characters, and those characters are not only slowly being revealed as the show goes on, but you want to talk about work. You can see that dude, before he even wrote a thing, was obviously on a board.
He wrote character Bibles.
He wrote character Bibles.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no question because and he answered the question. Somebody I was writing somebody I gave some, and somebody said who has done a lot of this stuff and said, why are these characters together? Why these characters? Why this guy? Why are they together? And what are they doing here? When you have to answer those questions and you're writing a series or a movie,
right.
There's almost nothing harder because you actually have to know everything about those people,
right?
And more importantly, you have to kind of go. I mean, part of writing is instinct and stuff, but you do have to answer the question: why am I even writing about these people? Who are they?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that when you see something like Breaking Bad, we don't know why it's good. We just know it's good, and we watch it. And it breaks above the fray.
Well, no, we know why it's good. We know why it's good. We know in that pilot episode that it's good. That it's well thought out.
Right.
Aside from the fact that all your friends have said, "Oh my God, have you seen Breaking Bad?"
Sure.
And nowadays, people want to watch everything on Netflix or DVD or on demand. They want to accumulate all the episodes and sit there at the end of the day and watch 2 or 3 or one on the treadmill and one at home or whatever. And that's what TV's become. People don't want to sit around and wait week to week for the next show and the next thing. Actually, I don't remember where I had this conversation, but somebody said that a friend of theirs said, "Oh, that show got canceled? Cool, now I can watch it." And that's the way we're watching TV now.
Because they can just get the DVD and watch all of it.
That's right, and that's how people are watching TV.
Yeah,
now, here's what this is. It's done bad stuff for the business, but also you could argue that we're in the golden age of television because we've got shows on. Look at a network like AMC. What is that? American Movie Classics. It has. What is that network 10 years ago? It's running Gone with the Wind or something in 2 p.m. Yeah. Now it has Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and don't they have Walking Dead, which is really popular?
They have Walking Dead as well.
They've got these shows and people know that it's hip, so they've established a brand.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck their calling card is or the name of their network is, it doesn't matter. And now people tell each other about shows. So a show like Breaking Bad will rise to the top because it's good. You know what I mean? That's actually encouraging.
It's kind of what HBO's done. I have a problem with some of the shows on HBO, but I think they've lost their way a little bit. But under Chris Albrecht, when you said it's on HBO, you knew it was going to be a great show.
Yeah.
And the same thing with AMC. I mean, kind of like when AMC has figured out a way to make themselves such a legitimate and recognized brand of quality.
Right.
With those 3 shows.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think as far as you talk about the upper echelon of networks that are true to their brand, I think you got AMC, HBO, and the Food Network.
Yeah,
I like the Food Network.
Well, calm down now. But you
know why?
Why?
You turn on the Food Network, you know what you're going to see?
What? Food?
Food.
All right, man.
There's food. I'd like to work closely with the Food Network. I already have their new motto.
You've wrestled with your weight a little bit. I think when you were
younger,
I go up
and
you were
down.
400 pounds.
At one point I was, and then
What's the most you ever weighed?
A lot, man. A lot.
Like what?
I weighed a lot because I have 2 bowling balls for shoulders, and I have the wingspan of a Kevin Durant.
All right, dude.
I have a wingspan of a 7-foot black man.
All right, well, calm down. But the nub.
No, there's no
you got
nub.
A little nub for a
no,
dick,
no, no,
which
no,
is
no,
so
no,
sad.
no, 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 no. I have a proud bat. I have a proud Louisville Slugger.
Bat?
Yep.
Right.
But I've got a big frame. I've got some big, huge legs, and I have size 15 feet.
What's the most you've eaten in a sitting?
Well, probably when I was in high school playing football and stuff with the guys.
We
used to pride ourselves on going to we used to go to the buffet in the neighboring town and clean it out. Because the average weight. Look, by the time I was a high school senior, and even actually as a junior, I was 6'3" and 310 pounds, but I ran the 40 in 5 seconds flat.
That's
you know what I mean?
fast.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like that you said 5 seconds flat. A lot of people go, I ran a 4.540. They have no idea what they're talking about. That's NFL speed.
That's NFL speed.
I mean, and I hate people that are like, well, I ran a 4.4. No, you didn't. You're a white guy, and you didn't even play D1 football. Shut up right now.
Yeah. Well, I lost some. Actually, it's not true. At 310,
you are athletic.
Yeah, I mean, I did I do all the athletic stuff. I studied Muay Thai. I could turn your fucking head into pink foam
right
down, now if I want to. And now I'm doing yoga, so now I'm flexible too.
All right,
so I'm basically the Anderson Silva of big white dudes.
Okay, calm down, dude.
Well, whatever.
You're not.
Let's roll. Let's roll on the floor.
You're way bigger than me, and this is not appropriate. You're challenging me on my own fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the king right now.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am the king of my podcast.
Well, in your mind.
I'll have you removed.
But I was, actually, to be quite honest with you, I wasn't running that 5 at 310 pounds. I took 30 pounds off for the All-Star team and stuff when I was in high school. Anyway, way to go, Will. You really did it. So I was then after that, you moved to L.A.
Weren't you a very highly scouted high school football player?
Yes, I was the highest scouted. I was the offensive lineman of the year in the province I'm from, British Columbia, and I was like the highest scouted.
And you had some big colleges looking at you from the States?
Yeah. We had some colleges and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and I decided I wanted to keep acting.
I'm going to tweet a picture of your calves. I think we already have, so people can see what you're about. Those are the stupidest calves I've ever seen in my life.
Once I got to LA, I moved to LA like just before I turned 21, and I was like, then you just start. Then I'm not playing basketball and football with my buddies. I'm not lifting weights anymore because I'm not in school. I'm not really doing anything for exercise. And it's like pizza for breakfast, cool. I'm cutting coupons and trying to survive out here. As a young kid, broke kid, and you're literally eating pizza, getting a couple pizzas and eating it over a couple of days. And just I gained so much weight. I got so big, and then. Then at the age of 24, it took 1 year. I lost 200 pounds.
200 pounds.
And I got down to 250 pounds, and I was around 9% body fat.
How the fuck did you lose all that weight?
Literally, my body just wasn't exposed to what I could do to lose weight. So I was eating. It was almost like the Paleozoic diet. It was almost the paleo thing that everyone's doing now. Because it was a lot of berries, some fruits. If I couldn't get a hold of green leafy vegetables, every meal was it's the old thing. You can do it.
Protein,
anybody can do it. Palm-sized protein, handful of green vegetables. Try to do that 5 times a day. Of course, you're not going to be able to pull that off 5 times. I found myself eating at Kookaroo, which is a chicken chain.
Actually,
out
a really
here.
good. Kookaroo is a very underrated fast food.
Kookaroo is the only place you can go and have like super good for you stuff. Now you can do it at Chipotle too, but this is before Chipotle. But I would just eat a chicken breast. They had the skinless chicken breast with a little red sauce on it, green beans, just the most boring shit.
So good though. I remember eating that. I got to eat there more often.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Kookaroo. They've kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah, the one on Larchmont went out of business. Yeah. Anyway, you do that or you have to supplement with a shake or a bar. In 1 year, it all came off, and I was lifting a shit ton of weights. I was working out sometimes 3 times a day. Oh, by the way, I never drank, and I became a Nazi, and I didn't see my friends. When I say Nazi, I mean about working
not an anti-Semite,
out. No, not an anti-Semite. Not a goose stepping anti-Semite. I was a Nazi about not having a life. You know what I mean?
Or having Jewish friends. Is that?
Or having Jewish friends.
Wait a minute.
Whatever.
They don't cause weight gain.
Well, have you ever had any noodle kreplach?
No, and that's a made up Yiddish name.
Have you ever had the nice kugel?
Okay,
it's nice. Yeah, it's really good.
Kugel.
Yeah, come on. You could have a nice little lavash. Yeah.
It's funny about dieting because it's got to be a lifestyle, and you can last for a while, but then you always default back to, I always say that if you want to be in shape or you want to take care of yourself, I said this to my father and he's been following it. You've got to feel the difference between when you feel good versus when you don't.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
And I don't, because I literally have a goat stomach. I could eat anything. I could eat the ass out of a dead raccoon.
That's why I call you a fucking dough goat.
Don't you call me a dough goat.
But that's what you are. You're dough goat.
Not a dough goat.
Okay, well, let me ask you something. You would agree that a dough goat is a goat. Right. It's a fucking dumb goat.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
They can't even go like that because it's got a belly full of sugary dough all the time.
That's what a dough goat
is.
It's
eating dough all the time.
Yes.
And it's shitting dough. It eats so much dough that the shit comes out white
looking
and sugary.
like dough for the next dough goat to come up.
It's literally, it's like you can't say dough goat without looking at 2 piles of dough, one in front of its face and the other right behind its ass. Would you agree that that's a fucking, and by the way, its gut is so distended, it looks like a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig, only those stupid horns are giving it away, and you can barely see the horns because he's even put weight on his forehead.
And so
wouldn't you say
the goat cheeks are puffed up over its goat snout?
Yeah. So wouldn't you fucking say that's a dough goat?
I would.
Then that's what you fucking are.
But I'm not. I'm not a dough goat. No, I'm not. I'm not a dough goat.
Let's get back to, since we just had a tangent there. Let's get back to the golden age of TV, because I wanted to ask you this. It seems to me that we are at the golden age of TV. We are not in the golden age of music, and we are not in the golden age of film. It seems. I mean, far from it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And why? That's a weird.
Well, because
difference.
Yes, because look, other people would know more about this than Brian and I, so we shouldn't go into it necessarily, trying to come up with facts. But I've had it explained to me over and over again by different executives from different film companies, like, oh, what's going on? There's look, it's sort of common knowledge in our business, but if you haven't heard it yet, this is why you've got all these, the Avengers and the Spider-Man movies, and soon the Superman things coming back, is because these franchises are what's making money. A studio can spend $200 million to make a movie like this and know that they're going to make $1 billion back worldwide, and that's the business model now. And the romantic comedies are about 30-40 million, and they're just not taking chances on other movies if they can't clearly say, here's what this movie is and here's what it's bringing back. And the reason for that is people need to watch these movies in the theaters, so it's only what works in the theaters because...
Oh, in other words, that's how they make their money?
Yes, because the way to watch films hasn't landed yet as far as the on-demand of it all. And Netflix, not everybody has it.
Right.
And also, that's a weird thing. I don't even know how they make money. I pay whatever it is, the $10 a month for Netflix, so I can stream stuff and watch Breaking Bad and watch the stuff I want to watch. And that documentary.
It's not a lot of money.
No, but it's not a lot of money. How are they making money? How is this getting back to the, look, I've produced independent film. It's not a whole lot of fun, and I haven't seen a damn dime. Essentially you're making, unless you're making My Big Fat Greek Wedding and it explodes, and by the way, that was 15 years ago, unless you're doing that, you're making an expensive home movie with your talented friends.
I agree.
Whoop-de-doo. And then you see the distribution deal you're getting. Literally, I've produced this. It's not what I'm supposed to do. I actually kind of feel like I'm good at it, but it's not something that I want to do or that I'm great at, and I've done it. And you go like, this is it? This is the distribution deal we're getting? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, and you're not seeing any of that money until what happens? I haven't seen money from a movie I made like 5 years ago.
And as a result, it used to be actors made a lot of money. If you did a film, you would start at $300,000.
Sure.
And now, you're doing big movies and stuff. They're not going to pay you. They'll pay you Schedule F, maybe if you're lucky, which really means you're making 65, 70 grand. You guys think that's a lot of money, and it is. I'm not poo-pooing that, but you got to understand that as an actor, you're seeing half your money, maybe, and a third of your money after commissions. Yeah. And if you work very little, you do 2 movies a year, and you have a house, and
right.
You're living a very middle class existence, which is fine.
Right.
But it used to be that actors made a hell of a lot of money.
Right. In a way, it sort of thins the herd because those who can't survive in this business just have to find something else to do because it's so hardcore. But I don't get out of bed for less than $500,000.
Okay, dude. You know what? You're being really obnoxious. Now, I know you did the Three Stooges and you were Curly, a role that a lot of people wanted to do.
Yep.
You guys are in talks of, and I should have actually been Curly. I could have.
No.
I'm like De Niro. I can gain or lose weight, and that's such an easy role. I would have been like, whoop, 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 whoop. That's all you
that's
did.
Not,
right?
No, that's not what I did.
Whoop, 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 whoop,
no,
whoop,
Brian, that's not what I did.
In the face?
No.
That's what you do.
No.
Doesn't really,
I'm not gonna.
Exactly
I'm not gonna go into who Jerome Jerry Lester Horowitz is and
was that his name?
Yeah, Jerome Lester Horowitz. Called
Wow.
him Jerry. And you know what? His nickname was Babe growing up. But then Shemp's girlfriend came along.
Why was it Babe? Because he looked like...
He was the baby of the family. There were 5 boys. But Shemp was the oldest, and Shemp had a girlfriend, and that girl's name was Babe. So then Curly couldn't call himself Babe anymore.
Wait, so can I ask you this? Were the Stooges, they weren't brothers, were they?
Well, 3 of them were.
Really?
Well, yeah, Mo, Shemp, and Curly are brothers. Shemp was in the early Three Stooges on stage in vaudeville.
And they grew up being silly geese, I guess.
Well, they all wanted to act. They all caught the acting bug. Well, no, 2 of them aren't in the business. But then, yeah, they're on a. There was a childhood friend of Mo's. Was this guy Ted Healy, who had a vaudeville show called Ted Healy and the Stooges. Right, it was Ted Healy and his Stooges, and then Shemp got involved. But Shemp was trying to be a comedian on his own. Why are we talking about this? Nobody wants to hear this.
Well, it's interesting because you did the Stooges. You guys,
you sort of have to become a. Here's what happens. This is. I'm going to cut myself off. You have to become a Stooge historian.
Well, I remember you studying them because when you're doing the Three Stooges, and did the movie do pretty well?
Movie did just fine. If the movie came out 15 years ago, I wouldn't be talking to your sorry ass because I would be off in wherever the fuck making
down.
the next big ass fucking movie. I'd be in, I'd be Ace Ventura. I'd be
all right.
well,
you know what? You're not.
I'd be,
and it's
I'd
15
be the,
years later,
the,
and
the
you're
black
doing,
sheep or
hey,
cable guy or
you're
whatever.
You're doing the number one podcast in the country.
I'm not doing the number one.
By
podcast.
the way, you bring up a good point.
Is this Adam Carolla?
Has comedy changed a lot? You think in that regard? In other words, like the Farrelly brothers are known for their slapstick kind of. They're great, and but it almost feels like I don't know, like movies and a style of movie and a style of comedy comes along, and then that goes away.
Yes.
and something else comes.
Yeah.
Even Spielberg, and I hear really good things about Lincoln, but I watch War Horse and things, and I'm hearing the swell of the music, and it's a style of movie that, as good as it is, I kind of when I'm watching those movies, I go, boy, I've seen that before. I don't think I'll go see it.
I don't know what causes trends in movie making, but what you're saying about comedy is true. Like my favorite movie of all time, and sort of a sentimental favorite, because it came out when I was 12 years old, and I was like, that's the movie, and because John Candy is my idol. But it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's my favorite movie.
That's still, in my opinion, I mean, on every level, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Right. But that movie came out 25 years ago, and the style is antiquated now.
Is it? Because I got to watch it again.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's antiquated. It wouldn't be for you or I, but,
You think if it came out today...
There are girls in their late 20s, or, sometimes you'll talk to or a young person or something, it's like, you ever heard of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? No. You know what I mean? But
if the movie came out today, do you think, how would it do?
Well, the movie came out today. It's called Due Date. Did
pretty well, right?
I should watch the whole thing. I only saw half of it on cable.
I actually liked it a lot.
And I laughed my ass off at the stuff I saw. I do want to see it. Yeah. But so I shouldn't even go into it because I don't know the film with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. But if you're doing it, look, John Candy was a man for his era. You know what I mean? He was warm and funny, and that's not really necessary nowadays. You know what I mean? Not as much as it was. And there are a lot of things. There are a lot of elements from that movie that we don't need anymore, or the the movie studio executives would say we don't need anymore. You know what I mean? We need the really good looking kid with the long blonde hair and the hammer. You know what I mean? Like smashing the shit out of stuff.
Yeah, that's your type.
And making the girls
you
wet.
Like them,
what did you say?
Yeah, that's your type. You like them with long hair and a hammer, huh? Big old war hammer between their legs.
I'm talking about Thor.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Will. I didn't know. I just thought. Because your eyes got all dilated and your mustache got all moist, so I was just wondering.
My mustache. I don't have a sweaty lip.
I
don't have a sweaty upper lip.
Some big blonde guy with long hair and a big old hammer dick.
No, when I talk about Thor, I speak of him as an equal.
Well,
I'm an equal to Thor.
You're not the god of thunder, dude. You're just not.
I'm a bear heart.
All right. Well, you make up your mind, bro.
I'm a man with a bear's heart beating within my chest. Is beating in there.
What size jacket do you take?
54 long.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Big guy.
54
long. I take a 40 regular.
Yeah, that's right. I could kill you with my chest.
Okay, calm down.
That's what that means. I could run into people with my chest and knock them out
big
cold.
Big guy. You could have been a pro football player, I would imagine.
I would argue that I was playing pro football in high school, tossing boys around.
Okay.
Tossing them around.
All right, stop it. Did you have that mustache?
If I wanted to, I had this mustache.
Okay, so you hit puberty at a very early age?
No, not really. I was a hairless phenom.
Big squeaky
hairless
round
phenom.
Boy, squeaky round boy?
Squeaky round boy.
Sweating all the time, probably pissing and shitting your pants here.
Yeah, not getting a lot of pussy in high school.
How many times?
By not getting a lot of pussy in high school, I mean not getting any pussy in high school.
Were you a ferocious masturbator?
Not ferocious, because I also was sort of disinterested a lot of the time with things that didn't pay back. Masturbation didn't always pay me back. Acting paid me back. Football paid me back. I wore a lot of football jerseys. I'd wear a Dan Marino jersey or a Brian Bosworth jersey to school, and basketball shorts and shoes, as if just waiting for a basketball game to break out. And I had my glasses on, and I had a hat on backwards. And girls don't want to have sex with that guy.
Well, it's funny because guys are, I always say, we dress for utility. We dress so we're comfortable. We don't look like a pussy.
Right.
And those are the two things. We don't want any loose ends in case we get in a fight.
Right. Yep.
And literally, like, I wouldn't go out without like rubber soles on my feet because I couldn't get any traction.
What if you got to run? What if you got to beat someone's ass?
Right.
I would wear shorts without pockets in them and have to put my wallet and my keys and my socks. This is before cell phones.
They've done some studies on. I don't really. The funny thing is trying to decide what women like is hilarious because some women like you to be a guy, but they have done studies that women find men who decorate themselves a little bit to be sexy.
Yeah.
So men who wear like jewelry. I've never had the kind of look to even pull off anything.
No, forget that.
Yeah.
Well, chicks like shiny shit.
And I don't hang
here's
with
what
those
I think.
guys.
I think we should tell women what the hell they fucking like. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't. You look dangerously angry right now.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All I know is that I'm 37 years old. I'm single and I own a big house in Los Angeles.
All right, calm down.
I dress how I want when I want, and when I go into the Whole Foods after the gym and I'm sweaty and I'm wearing a wick-away shirt and shorts, that's the way I want to fucking look.
Okay, well, nobody's telling you otherwise. You're kind of making a stand here.
I think girls should respond to that.
Well,
I give off I smell good.
Well,
Brian's putting his foot against mine right now.
Yeah, you got a size 4'15" going on. Huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't get much ass in high school.
Yeah,
man.
you can tell you call it fat teenager syndrome, right?
I do call it. That's something
FTS.
I call it fat teenager syndrome. Anytime anything. LA. We've talked about this on the other podcast actually. That anytime that being single in LA is a hoot.
Yeah, I did it for many years.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because girls got their heads on straight out here.
Yeah, well, I think girls come out here. Most people come out here to get somewhere.
Yep.
And they're braving traffic and all just because they want people to look at them.
And whereas you and I are class clowns with no other skills.
That's it.
Right. So
thank God. That's the funny thing is I remember being 21 or something, and I mean actually all through my 20s. Until I got Mad TV, I think I was 27, 28. I was so worried because I knew that all I wanted to do was be a silly goose.
Right.
And that was genuinely my only skill
right.
set. I tried to work at a bank.
You did?
Oh, yeah, at Lehman Brothers, the now defunct Lehman Brothers. And I worked there, for 16 months. I thought I was literally going to die. I stopped recognizing myself because I had to be at work.
Right.
I was never able to really focus on anything that I didn't care about.
Right.
What I did love was making fun. I mean, just playing dumbass with my friends.
Right.
And I still do.
Yes, absolutely.
I like being a jackass. And now I make a living at it.
And it's, it's interesting. I'll talk to girls in LA about this. And sometimes I feel like, well, how can you sort of, if you're a woman in this town, rise above and sort of, be genuine. The pool they're picking from, especially in our industry, a lot of guys are predators and weirdos and fucking fake, and they're trying to impress girls with this and that, and it's just a joke. But for the most part, those guys I would think are just kind of leeches, but the people doing the bulk of the work are a couple of class clowns, or if you want to say a Vince Gilligan, like a guy who guy went off and he wrote a guy that produces stuff, a man that's working in this business, people that work nonstop in this business, they're not very fake. They don't have time to be.
They're also not living a glamorous lifestyle.
Absolutely not.
Anthony Tambakis, my buddy, is about to do this show Cinnamon Girl. And I just see what he's going through, the amount of work you have to do. And it's really true. There's this notion that I'm going to move out to Hollywood, I'm going to get famous, and I'm going to be banging girls in my jacuzzi. No. The reality is, if you're successful in this business, including being an actor, you're not having orgies. Right. You're actually on a set 15 hours a day in some butt-fuck town.
Right.
Actually, in some ways, not that elated to be doing because it's so much work. And when you're a writer and when you're a producer,
you're locked inside.
When you're a producer, my God, you're working. There are no breaks. When you're a director, I watched Todd Phillips, who The Hangover and all those movies. Todd works his ass off.
Right.
Todd is literally working 17 hours a day.
Right.
He's got a great house in Malibu, but I don't think he has time to enjoy it.
There you go. And hopefully he's shacked up with the right chick or the wife or whatever it is, and it's like that sort of becomes the life.
Even
it actually
then, though,
becomes
it's hard
a real...
to have a relationship because you're gone so much. It's almost like they shoot everything out of town.
Right. Well,
so
when
I
go
get from movie to movie.
When I get married, I'm calling my wife is not going to take my last name. She's going to take the last name Caravan.
All right.
She's gonna caravan her and my seed, my children.
All right. Call them your children, please. Don't call them
I'm
your seed.
gonna
Well, let me ask you this: if you know this business, you've been at it a long time. If I gave you, if I gave you $40 million, how would your life change, and would you still be in this business?
Oh, that's okay. Let's play this game. If I had $40 million, okay. First, what I'd do is I'd buy some properties here and there.
Yeah.
And I would figure out how to continue to travel between these properties and where I want to spend time with my family up north, where I'm from in Vancouver, my parents, my brother, sister, the kids, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and my nieces, nephew, people like that. And I would probably learn how to fly.
You would?
Yep. I'd buy a plane and I'd learn how to fly. That's what I would do.
My dad did that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know people that do that, and they always tell me it's way easier than you think. And then I would really relax and go, okay, what movie do I want to throw away $5 million on? Because I'm going to throw away this money. But I'm treating it like an investment.
In other words, you're never going to see your money back.
Right. But I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to meticulously write it. I'm going to have to direct it. I'm going to be the boss with regard to everything. I'm going to make this movie, and that would be my
legacy.
That would be my suck my dick. You call it a legacy. I call it a suck my dick. So I would be my suck my dick movie.
But it's interesting that you say that, because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I like about what you're saying is that, there is this, I think the fundamental difference from what and I don't mean to be insulting to any woman, but the fundamental difference I always notice between men and women is that men have a real need to leave behind. Women do it with children. There's not as, some women are different, but there's not as strong a need. But most men I know all want to feel significant, and they want to leave something behind. My drive in my life is, I hope at the end of my life I can look back on my body of work,
right,
whatever you want to call it, my stand-up or whatever, and think I did something. I mean, you saw my special and I hated it, and you were less critical. But for me, the reason I was critical is I went, that's not what I want to leave behind. I know I can do much better than that.
Yeah,
and that's the idea. You're always kind of trying to say, well, let me, and now of course I'm writing on a different level and trying to stay as honest as I can to myself. But that seems to always be the drive. It's funny, you get to a point where you and I have some money, and we're not hurting or anything, but it's not enough. What you want to do is actually leave a mark somehow.
Yeah, and
surprise yourself.
It must be something that's sort of inbred and ingrained in us, because I kind of look at it. I'm taking you. Okay, look, if you gave me $40 million, what would I do? And I'm literally thinking it up. And part of me is going, oh, I'm 37 years old, and by the time if I made that movie for $5 million, that would take me to 40. And I'd kind of be like, okay, I don't want to pound the pavement, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be at the whim of this fucking crazy business in this crazy fucking town and all its elements socially and business wise. I want to be able to, but then if I got another 10 years older, I'd go, well, I was young, and then you get to 60 and you'd be like, oh, I was young at 50.
Yeah,
what was I thinking?
I know.
So I think it's an ongoing thing. I think that, these entertainers, these creative people, whether you're an actor or a comedian, or you're a writer, you're a TV writer, you're a film writer, you're a singer, you're whatever. I think there's this need to. It's interesting, man. Okay, there's like this need to see. I split people up in this town. I split the creative people in this town right down the fucking middle, and we're usually talking about actors and actresses, male and female actors. I split them right down the middle. There's people here that want to see their name in lights, and there are people here that need to share what's going on inside of them, and they need to express themselves. 100 years ago, before the camera, we would never see our name in lights. You'd never go to a movie and watch yourself. You couldn't see yourself back. The experience went out towards the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you were an actor in a as far back as people have been acting on stage, you know what I mean? Or you were the court jester, literally, which is what you would have fucking been in a former life.
Point at me like that.
You would have been the court jester.
Putting your finger.
You would have had that
face.
bouncy, goofy hat with the little bells.
No, I wouldn't. I'm a serious artist.
You'd put makeup on in the morning.
Take me seriously. This is my podcast.
You'd be wearing a jumpsuit with stars.
No,
and
I wouldn't.
Moons on it.
It's ridiculous.
Right. But I digress. You would literally the performance would go outward, right? If you were any sort of artist, the performance would go outward. Now with acting in this weird thing, fame, Yeah, I'm sort of fascinated with words. Now I want to know where the word fame came from.
I was talking about this today. I don't even think it exists. I think it's a huge illusion. Fame is getting a lot of attention for a moment.
Right.
Because it never lasts.
But it's not what it used to be. We used to look at we used to have stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, glamour. I think that's because...
But they also provided something. When Jack Nicholson came out with a movie, you fucking knew it. Now Jack Nicholson is... I love Jack Nicholson, and not to disparage Jack Nicholson. I love him. I'll watch anything he does. But, you know, a lot of people just look at him as the guy who's at the Lakers games. You know what I mean? The Laker games.
Well, isn't that a function of the fact that back in the day, and I was thinking about this with General Petraeus, who's got caught in this affair and stuff. Back in the day, you didn't hear about the clinical realities of your heroes. You didn't have cameras on them all the time. I
was watching coverage of the Petraeus scandal today, and they were talking about how on through time, who was it? What president was it? Lyndon Johnson had a
mistress.
Had the bell. There was like a bell to let him know when the first lady was coming.
I believe it. I think Johnson had a mistress for many years. And
but the
Kennedy did.
Oh, of course. Now it's well publicized. Yeah. But back then, when in the press, you know, I was watching the news. They were talking about this today. It was like, they were saying the press wouldn't cover that. They were never going to cover that. So it was always around. That problem was always there. You know, guys in power were always trying to get pussy, you know what I mean? And also they say, look, General Petraeus is away from his wife for the better part of 10 years.
Oh, come on. The guy's the guy's amazing.
All right.
You know, the guy
and we're not I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Brian, you scumbag. No. But I'm not making an excuse for his behavior because
he's not making an excuse for his behavior either. What I wish this country would do is not be so obsessed with this shit. I don't want to hear about it. General Petraeus made a mistake or he didn't. That's a personal choice. I don't know what his marriage is like. I'm sure he's married to a fine woman. They've been together a long time. He's made a great sacrifice. He's a great American. He's a hero and a very intelligent man and a good man.
He's married to Judith Light from Who's the Boss.
Well,
she was a real piece of ass back in the day.
Well, maybe, but the bottom line is, I think that I wish that the media would champion the fact that they did stay together for so long instead of, we're just so obsessed with this retarded scandal. Right. Leave the guy alone and let him mend his own relationship with his wife, and let's just not make a big deal, man. He's a fucking human being, and you're right. He's in a war zone. That girl is hot, that Paula, whatever her name is. She's sexy, yes. Yeah. Sexy, intelligent, and guess what? You're away from your wife for 15 months or whatever it is, or 2 years, and some gorgeous woman, and he slipped up. He slipped up. And I think people know that. I think people are, for the most part, forgiving. If you hear people talking about it, it's just we should kind of shake our heads and I go, well, you got caught, pal. Yeah.
Well,
But let's stick on point. The point is that you're right. We have to deal with that now. And back in the day, you got away with stuff that you don't get away with because everybody's watching you. There are video cameras on every storefront. You can't do anything without it being recorded. We've not talked about that as a society. We've given up a great deal of our privacy. Yeah. Every email that I send has a trace. Every text has a URL. Yeah. You can find everything I've ever done.
Well, and another thing that you failed to mention about General Petraeus, and why do guys do what they do? How did this guy put his job and the country in jeopardy? Men produce 200 million sperm. It's 200 million sperm per load.
Yeah, a lot of testosterone.
Okay, but the point I want to make is that I produce 500 million per load. Now, moving on.
No, that was a really weird thing. That was a really weird tangent.
I just want to say that
you're trying to put yourself over General Petraeus, which is very obnoxious.
Well, he probably only produces maybe 70 million.
You don't know, dude.
Because he's an older guy.
You don't know. I'm not going to have this conversation on my podcast about General Petraeus. Have a little respect for his balls.
How do you think semen is made in our bodies? Well, what's the main ingredient?
I drink gypsy tears.
What?
Yeah, that's how I get mine.
No. How do you make? How is semen made? It's made in our balls, right? It's made in our balls, right?
Yeah.
So what do you? I would imagine there's a great deal of oxygen. You have to get some oxygen down there, right? Well, I have a bear heart, so I'm coursing blood down there.
Okay, dude. You've already said you have a fucking bear heart.
Here's what I wanted to say: is that let's get back to Jesus Christ. It's two guys that can fucking We'll spin right off the planet.
I
We
love
literally need a referee in here.
I know, I love it.
But here's the thing I wanted to say is, actors back 100 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever, they're putting this thing out. You know what I mean? They're sharing stuff. Now, there's a great deal of artists that still do that. They stay true to what they want to do, and they just put it out, and they love their audience for whoever or however big or small for ingesting that stuff that they just want to put out. But here, now what's happened in Hollywood, which is as much a state of mind as it is an address, is this fame.
It's funny. A state of mind as much as it is a state of mind.
It's bullshit. It's fucking crazy. And I meet people, and I mentioned for a second, like, oh, it's hard to be like a single guy because it's like the girls are fucking crazy and weird or whatever. Yeah, because a lot of them are chasing that golden fucking egg out here.
Yeah.
And it makes them fucking nuts, and they become it's not very feminine when they're spreading themselves thin, to be sexy to every man. It's not very sexy. It's not very attractive when a woman's sexuality becomes a product. You know what I mean? It becomes hard to reconcile as a man to go, oh, you're just gonna, you know what I mean? You're it's kind of hard, right? On the other hand, if I meet women anywhere outside of Los Angeles, they sort of think I have this lifestyle that I don't.
Yeah.
And which harkening back to what you said.
There's definitely a glamorous sort of.
They're like, well, aren't you
idea.
doing this and that and that and this? And it's like,
because you're more removed,
right? But also, I'm chilling in the house. I'm making soup. It's Saturday night. I've decided to make soup. And I'm gonna hang out. I have to read that script.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some soup.
Yeah.
I just got the Vitamix. I'm excited about my Vitamix blender.
Yeah. No,
and I'm gonna make some soup.
I used to always say to people, I want to be an actor. I go, well, just come follow me around for a week and just see if you really want to be an actor.
Yeah.
See the inner machinations.
But this is the last thing I'll say about it. Here's what I get off on. I get off on cracking a scene. I get off on making it as funny and real as possible. Now, some of my work is not very real. Some of it's, a lot of the shit I've done is pretty fucking cartoony, where it's not required that I'm real.
And stuff.
Right, sketch and stuff, or you're following a model with the Three Stooges, where it's like, But even with Curly, I'm like, well, how do I make this guy real?
I
give him a heart for 90 minutes.
You're very good at that.
Well, it's something I really. Again, look, my idol is John Candy. That's what he did. Yeah. He put the character's feet on the ground, and then you can go anywhere.
That's right.
But those feet had to stay on the ground. So what do I get off on? Making the scene as funny as possible. Sometimes you're playing a character that's a supporting character. He doesn't need 3 dimensions. He barely needs a dimension and a half. You don't have to worry so much about it. But you better fit into the scene, you know what I mean, and support the other actors and play it real or play it unreal.
Servicing a story.
Right, or play it a little bit, twinkle above reality or whatever the fuck it is that's happening in the thing you're working on. That's what I love. That's what I love doing. You know what I mean? So for me, that's where my drive comes from. And as much of a bitch as this business is, it beats fucking working for a living.
Jesus,
you know what I mean?
Does it ever?
It's really fucking tricky and hard and weird and reconciling. Like I said, be doing that for a living. It still beats being a fucking single mom in the middle of the country.
You're damn right.
And not having any
I'm
fucking
glad you
medical
brought that
insurance.
Up because we've been complaining about the business, but man, are we lucky?
Yeah, we're absolutely lucky.
Yeah.
The rest of the shit becomes fucking tedious, and everyone's experience is different. And again, I don't want anyone to think I'm complaining, but when I get to actually do what I love for a living, I realize, oh my God, I haven't worked a day in my life. I am a fucking class clown, and I do own a home. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
that's really fucking stupid.
I feel like I hit the lottery, like I did something right in my past life,
right?
Because I make a living off my imagination, and usually it just requires me to kind of tap into what I've always done with my friends and in school,
right? And I want, and when you talk about a man leaving behind his legacy, and that maybe that's a male thing, or whether, or whatever, it's a human thing. I want more. I want to be able to create more and give more. And I do want, I think a lot of actors and a lot of people in our position want more power so that they can create what they want to create. You mentioned your buddy Todd Phillips. He's got it going on. Now he's got his own fucking problems that he would probably talk about if he were part of this conversation. Mm-hmm. But he's like, oh, I'm going to make, nobody wanted to make The Hangover 1, right?
Yeah,
and he had to take it around, and then he didn't get paid. He only took points.
Yeah,
right.
He didn't get paid. He said, "I'll forego my salary. Let me cast who I want."
Right.
All these unknowns.
Right.
Bradley Cooper and Zach Galifianakis and Ed Helms. Nobody knew those guys.
Right. And he made and he lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And he did it, and now everyone's paying attention.
Yeah.
To the second one and the third and all this stuff, and that's great, and that's what he's achieved. You know what I mean? So I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is that Bryan Callen and Will Sasso and our pal Chris D'Elia, we're gonna write a movie and we'd like our audience to each, for listening to this podcast today, please, each one of you, give us $20,000.
Jesus, no, we're not going to. You can't solicit money on my fucking podcast. Excuse me, sir.
We need $20,000.
No, we don't.
From each of you.
Please stop. I apologize for Will.
Brian loves his audience. We love our audience over at the other podcast.
Yeah, but we're not asking for money,
and
Will.
We need $20,000.
You're hijacking my fucking podcast,
and
bro.
We'll make the best movie for you about
we won't.
3 guys.
I don't know what we're going to write, man.
It's called Bear Hearts.
No, it's not.
And it's going to be like Bloodsport.
I'm not calling it Bear Heart. You've completely hijacked my. Let me end with asking you a question and make it fucking brief, man.
Jesus.
By the way, you're a fucking bore, huh?
Hey,
what a dogoat.
Well, you're fucking. It's your podcast. If you call me
bore, and that mustache is even more boring.
Not a bore.
If I make you 25, I make you 25 again. What do you do differently?
Gee, well, 25, I would have been heading into my last season of Mad TV.
Yep.
I did it for 5 years, and I left at the age of 26.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of young. And I would, if I...
How much money did you have in the bank?
You know what? I was really, really fortunate, and you want to go back to being fortunate. When I was going into my last season of Mad TV, I was, it was going well. People were like, oh, that kid's got a lot of good things going on. So I had the other networks, Fox didn't want to offer me a deal because Fox wanted me back on Mad TV. But it was really a different time.
Oh, I remember I got deals myself. They were giving away a lot of money.
They were giving away, and if you were holding deal was one thing, but if you could develop and come up with your own ideas and write.
$500,000.
Yeah, you were getting. So I went with Disney Touchstone for ABC.
So did I.
And I did did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. And I made a development deal. And so for my last season of Mad TV, I was making that salary, which was, I remember we were making there was a couple of us that were making.
I started at $7,500 an episode.
At Mad TV? Yeah,
which at the end of the week, I would look at my paycheck and somehow I only had $1,600. It would all go away.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, wow, I could be working at a really hot bar and a bartender and be making probably a little more. But I still lived like I thought it was a lot of money.
Sure. Well, I was making way more than that
all
when
right,
I finished.
Calm down.
But yeah, I had two incomes because I had the deal and I had Mad TV, and then I remember I bought the house, I bought my house and shit, and that was good.
At 26 years old, you bought a house?
27. I just turned 27 when I bought my house.
That's rare.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, where property was expensive.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. Oh, actually, it was right before things went crazy. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was 2002. And that
was when you wanted to buy. I bought my house, I think, in 2000.
The next year, the house was worth 3 times.
I know. That's what happened to me in 2000. I bought a house, and the guy showed me I had a little bungalow. I bought a 2-bedroom bungalow.
Wow.
It was a tiny house.
Yeah.
It was like what people used in the 20s for their beach bungalow.
Yeah.
And my house tripled in value.
Yeah.
Tripled in a period of like three years because of the whole mortgage thing.
Wow.
I mean, they were able to sell mortgages overseas, so everybody wanted a mortgage, and housing became the sort of the bubble.
The fuck does that have to do with my answer to your question?
That I'm in the market and wealthy and good
looking.
Way
to go, man.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I would do. Here's what I'd do differently. I guess. I don't know. This is crazy to say, but after
Mad
TV, because I went into I developed television for years to where I got to the point that was just writing stuff and coming up with, me and my buddy Chad.
Yeah.
My buddy Chad Kulchin. Sometimes we write together, and we wrote a show at CBS and we shot a pilot and stuff. I wasn't in it. You start writing and producing TV, and we wrote one last year that didn't go for Fox. And it's like,
do you like doing that?
Yeah, I like doing that. It's just that it's you just have to understand that you may not end up...
All that work usually ends in nothing.
Well, usually, just because that's the way it goes. Now, they're developing less TV than they used to, but so you're lucky if you can get in there and write a show, regardless of the outcome. I love doing it. I sort of thought it was over.
Would you have done more of that, do you think? Is
that
what you're trying to say?
I think I would have done less of it because I developed television for myself, and I tried to get the Will Sasso project going year after year. It started at ABC, and then I was at other networks, with other deals, and I think I would have done less of it because I just very rarely would end up on TV. I was on that show Less Than Perfect on ABC.
I remember I did an episode.
it. Yeah. And I was developing all the while I was at ABC. While I was doing that show, I was still developing to try to get off and do the next thing. You know what I mean? And the show was the thing. And it's like, I don't know artistically that a sitcom largely about women in an office is something that I, should be doing, but I loved everybody that I worked with. I made great friends, and I loved the producers, and I was developing with them. But had I to do it again, now that
you would have joined the seminary and become a priest. We're at 58 minutes, and I always end this in 1 hour.
Well, then I got 2 minutes to tell you what I would have done.
Yeah,
go ahead. Anyone's still listening. Maybe I would have auditioned for Saturday Night Live.
What the fuck?
Well, you finished Mad TV.
Could you have done it? Would they have let you? I don't think so.
I don't think they would have let me. Although our pal Taron Killam is on it now. And he was on Mad TV for less than a year. Yeah, for back in the day. The kid was
great
19.
Guy, 19. He's
so fucking
dude.
funny. So that doesn't really count because he wasn't really
I got to get him on my podcast. I'm going to get him on my podcast. Taron, if you're listening, you're going on my podcast.
He's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Les Jeunes de Paris. Every time I see Taron, I always tell him how funny the Les Jeunes de Paris, this one sketch they do on Saturday Night Live.
Well,
I don't know. I'd probably have you killed and take all your parts.
Hey, dude.
And
no.
Yeah, no, you know what, man? No, I don't know. No fucking regrets. It's such a fucking I guess we've talked about the business for an hour, but it's such a meandering, aimless fucking business that I swear to God, there are some days, and I'll share this with your audience, I literally, if I come in from shooting something out, I'm away for a while, I've literally kissed the floor of my house and go, "Do you fucking believe this? Like, I can't even fucking believe this."
You know what I mean? This for a living.
And everyone in my high school, my art teacher, Mr. Butchko, said to me, he brought me into his, we can end with this. He brought me into his fucking room, okay? His art room, his art studio in the school. And he said, and I was having people looking at me for football, you know what I mean? And I was kind of a holy terror on the fucking field, and I could have played in the CFL. They need a certain quotient of Canadian players, and that usually equates to big overgrown farm boys tossing each other around on the offensive and defensive line. It's not a stretch of the imagination. I got buddies that played in the CFL whose asses I could fucking kick. Now.
Calm down.
All right, I'll calm down.
Jesus.
He brought me into his fucking studio and he said, "Your dad wake up in the morning, go to work?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Blue collar family?" I go, "Yeah, middle class. You don't have a lot of money."
Your dad was a waiter.
My dad was a waiter and a maitre d'. My parents are born in Italy. They have thick accents. They're sweet as hell. They immigrated here in the 60s. My brother and sister were just born.
So your dad worked his ass off.
My dad was a waiter all over Europe. My dad, and we had a 5-bedroom house in the town that I grew up in, which is a middle class town outside of Vancouver. And my mom sometimes worked at the hospital in the cafeteria, or at an old folks home in the cafeteria. And she didn't have any skills. They were going to school and fucking World War II happened. You know what I mean? So my dad was a career fucking waiter and a maitre d', and he scored the job of a lifetime at the Hotel Vancouver. He flew to Canada without a promise of a job and I was nervous the day before I drove down to Hollywood to move to LA. I'm 20 years old, and I'm sitting on his bed, and he comes into the room and goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "I don't know. I'm just nervous. I'm broke, and I'm moving down there to follow my dream. It's crazy." He goes, "William, when I came to Canada," by the way, he brought all my aunts and uncles and a bunch of kids and stuff. Half of them are here, half of them are back in Italy. And he said, "When I came to Canada, I had a promise of a job, maybe. Not a guarantee. I had to get everybody else a job. I'm the only one who speak English. I have to get your Uncle Pasquale a job." He says, "I have $100 American and $100 Canadian in my pocket." And I looked at him like my dad's a fucking superhero. Yeah. And he said, "Sometimes you just trust in God and you go." And I was like, "All right." And from then on, I was like,
what did your art teacher say?
Here's what my art teacher said. He pulled me into the office. He goes, "Your dad wake up in the morning?" "Yeah." "Goes to work?" "Yeah." And he goes, "Forget about this acting bullshit. Take a football scholarship." Keep in mind, I had a series.
And he was right in a way. I mean, he
was right in a way.
He was trying to protect you.
Right, he was trying to protect me.
And he was looking at the odds.
And I did a Canadian series for 5 years, like a dramatic teen series.
And he was an art teacher, not a coach.
And I said, "You're the last fucking person." My football coach was supportive of my acting career. Still is. We're still pals. And he's like, and I'm like, "You're the last guy that should be saying this to me." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
he was probably just trying to protect you, and
Yeah.
he probably said he was looking at the odds, and he
Right.
just said, "Look, this kid could be a pro football player.
Right.
Go there."
So what I have to say to your audience, especially young people, throw caution to the wind, make stupid decisions, and fucking roll around with a couple $100 in your wallet and move to other places.
As long as it feels
dependence.
as long as your heart's telling you to move in that direction. I like the way you ended that. We're at a minute. We're at an hour and 3 minutes and 12 seconds on the greatest podcast on the planet.